G'day folks. Well, over the years we have filmed hundreds of incredibly talented people across the world. Many of these artists have gone on to produce their own videos as well. We hope you enjoy this great lesson from one of our Colour in Your Life artists.
Hello again, I'm back and I've got a bit more work done on this painting for you. As you can see, I've put in a whole lot of flowers. You can see here I've put in just some random flowers. They're not necessarily perfect. I did have geraniums in the garden. I've put in some gerberas. I think you might have seen me putting in some of these kumquats, but I've since put in a whole lot of leaves. I was working on that the last video. I've put in more leaves here, and I've done a bit more work on the silver pot, on the teapot. Now I want to do a bit of work. I think I don't like this colour here. It's a bit too orangey and a bit too similar to these flowers that I want to put in here. So now I'm working with some ultramarine and white to make up a nice pale colour. I wanted to bring this landscape into this part of the still life. So I'm going to make this water come all the way down here. So what I'm doing now is painting in. See, I do things in a funny way. I don't follow the rules. I don't always do the background first. I'm just going to paint in a background around my still life. So here we go. You see, now I think you'll see that this comes a bit more into the light, so to speak. It sort of brings it out. And in fact, the background that I had there previously, sometimes it'll show through a bit, and that makes quite an interesting dimension to the painting. See, I like this, and I've got a mixture of paint on my brush. As I've said before, I kind of mix paint onto the brush, onto the canvas rather than onto the palette, and I like getting this interesting mixture happening. So I think it gives it a bit more life and movement. Because it's a complementary to the orange here, this orange gerbera, which I might end up making pink. I'm not sure about it being orange, but let's see. We'll put more of this gorgeous bluey colour in here, as if we've got water lying in the background here. How's that? I think that's looking more interesting than it was, and in fact it's more harmonious because there's a lot of cool in here, and it sort of brings it together a bit. Sometimes it's useful to have a palette that's more cool or a palette that's more warm, and not have too much of both, because that can look a bit messy. There you are. See how these flowers are now becoming more obvious because I've painted something that's a slightly different tonal value too. That's one of the things in painting is you do need a change of tone. I think I'm going to put some flowers in there, and as time goes on I'm going to put pattern into this pot. Well, this isn't a pot, this is a teapot. One of my mother's silver teapots, which I've allowed. I haven't been very good, I don't polish them, so it's got quite a bit of tarnish, but then again, I like that look. I do like a bit of grunge on things in paintings, and I find that the patina on old things is attractive. Oh, that's quite white, isn't it? Let's put a bit more of this in here. Now, that's quite violent, but with time I might go over that and let's have a bigger brush. I might make that less lively. Over in this this section here, I've actually drawn the outline of a bird. I often have birds in paintings. I'm not sure yet whether I'm going to have a bird in it or not, but I might. So that's why there's some chalk there. Let's see if we can just pop some daisies in here. Just liven this bit up a bit. Yes, that's okay, but we're going to need some green leaves in there too. I haven't got any green on the palette at the moment. So that's today's section. There it is. It's going to be quite a big still life stroke landscape. I hope you're enjoying watching this. Thank you for your interest, and I'll get back to you later. See ya. Bye. Hi, how are you? I hope you're well and keeping safe during this time. So we've got, let's see if I can get this into a better viewing position for you. There we go. Okay. So I've done a bit more work on the flowers and the leaves. I've put a little bit more depth, a bit more contrast into some of those flowers. I've actually chucked, this is a paper bird. He's not real, but I just wanted to see what it would look like. I quite often use a template and just stick it in there and see if that's going to work. That's a butcher bird. There are a lot of them in our garden, so I thought I'll pop a butcher bird in. I've done a little bit of work with chalk just to draw in some elements. On this silver teapot, which is this teapot, belonged to my mother, I've shown it to you before, I've drawn in some of the patterned elements because I think that'll be nice, and some leaves which I'm going to paint today. Okay, let's get on with it. I've got some colours on my palette as usual. I've got the quinacridone azo nickel gold, which I really like, cadmium yellow medium, chromium green oxide, Prussian blue, which is a real go-to for me, Payne's grey, titanium white. Okay, let's get started. So I'm gonna start with putting in some more leaves, because I think this section here needs a bit of green. So let's just chuck in some leaves. Just, you know, quick. Doesn't need to be anything special. I can fix them up later. I rather like kind of lively strokes anyway. Gives the painting a bit of movement. There we are, some leaves, maybe another bit of green there. Right, that'll probably do just for that little bit. Now, I had the idea, I'm not sure if I'm going to do it, but let's have a play. I had the idea of putting a bit of a vine around the teapot spout. So let's just play. I really don't know if it's going to work, but you know, let's give it a try. Okay, that's not too bad. Some of these leaves are going to need a bit more work on them because they're not very well defined at this point in time. They need a bit more light in them. You know, I had a comment from somebody. Do you remember in the earlier, I think it was in the first video I did of this painting, there was a sea still visible in that Chinese pot, and somebody sent me a message saying they really liked it and to leave it, and unfortunately I've already painted over it. But at another time I might do a pot with a sea on it. Okay, now let's play with the patterning on the pot, because I think that's going to be a really nice element. So I'm just going to put a bit of white and a bit of Payne's grey, and so it's not going to be terribly obvious to start with, and I'll just have to do a bit of playing with it over time. Again, very loose, very free strokes. I'd say that this was an Edwardian, probably an Edwardian teapot. I think it might have belonged to my paternal grandmother. Apparently she used to like going to auctions in London, and she bought quite a lot of antiques. Comes out there, and there's another bit on that side. And then there's a matching pattern in this panel to the one in that panel. You can't really see this one because it goes behind this leaf. But you know, one of the things in painting and drawing and art, you don't have to put everything in. You know, people get very worried about leaving out detail, but you don't have to, because if you have some lines there and you have some elements there, your brain, it's pretty smart, it'll fill up those gaps. There we are, starting to get quite a nice bit of patterning there. Now, there's a couple of other things that I need to just do with my, oh, I need to clean that better. So I'm just going to put some Prussian blue on here and just do a bit of a line there. Give this the appearance of a bit of a shadow. It'll have to find its way up there somehow. Yeah, I'll fix that later if I haven't got it quite right. And some of these leaves need to be outlined a bit. Give them a bit more substance. In fact, these leaves need quite a lot of working on. This is one of the things that I really enjoy doing. It's the finessing part of it, you know. You get the paint on and then you can come back. See, now really I need a bit of light in there. Let's see if we can get a bit more light into that part. Right. No, that's not quite right, is it? Let's just play with that a bit more. And then maybe a little bit of dark just there. Starts to have a bit of the idea that there's a leaf turning here. Right, that might be enough for now. I'll be doing some more work on it in between times and then I'll see you with the next video. Please join me again and thanks for your company and I do love your comments. Thanks a lot.